So our talk today is in two parts. First, the early years. Then I'm going to show you a slideshow of Ted growing up, just so you can see the differences between how he is now and when the eye droop was there. These are just recent shots for now. And then we're going to move on to siblings, and Miles has actually got a poem he's going to read to you a little bit later. Our children are our inspiration. Their laughter, their smile and their bond completes us as a family. Miles, Ted and Amelia create so many special memories of each one being unique, not just because they are special, but because they aren't how they should be. Every special occasion, day trip, day out, all come with a tick sheet, medication, equipment list, and the stress of having an octogyrate crisis. You should see how much we packed into our van this weekend. It was brilliant, but Ted needed every piece of equipment. Over the past 4 years, we have learnt to adapt and cope with daily life. Medicines, octogyrate crisis, reflux, operations, feeding tubes and equipment. The pain never leaves you, but the raw heartache that consumes those first few years does lessen. 4 years ago, we presented to many of you when our hearts were raw and we couldn't see a light at the end of the tunnel. The journey for us looked bleak at that time. We read a poem which expressed our loneliness and utter confusion of our future. Today we're going to read that poem again, but in a different light for us as a family, and I know everybody will see it, where they are in their journey now. We can enjoy our journey. We've got an amazing little man over there. It's not what we were expecting, but we can enjoy it.
So this was titled Welcome to Holland by Emily Pearl Kingsley. And so I shall read it again this time. When you're going to have a baby, it's like planning a fabulous vacation trip to Italy. But you buy a bunch of guidebooks and you make your wonderful plans. The Colosseum, Michelangelo David, the gondolas in Venice. You may learn some handy phrases in Italian, and it's all very exciting. After months of eager anticipation, the day finally arrives. You pack your bags and off you go. Several hours later, the plane lands. The stewardess comes in and says, "Welcome to Holland." "Holland?" you say. "What do you mean, Holland? I signed up for Italy. I'm supposed to be in Italy. All my life I've dreamed of going to Italy." But there's a change of plan in the flight. They've landed in Holland, and there you must stay. The important thing is that they haven't taken you to a horrible, disgusting, filthy place full of pestilence, famine and disease. It's just different. So you go out and you buy new guidebooks and you must learn a whole new language and you'll meet a whole new group of people that you never would have met. It's just a different place. It's slower paced than Italy, less flashy. But after you've been there for a while, you catch your breath and you look around and begin to notice that Holland has windmills and tulips and even Rembrandts. It's just a different... But everyone you know is busy coming and going from Italy, and they're all bragging about what a wonderful time they had there. And for the rest of your life, you will say, "That's where I was meant to go. That's what I had planned." And the pain of that will never ever go away. Because the loss of that dream is a very significant loss. But if you spend your life mourning the fact that you didn't get to Italy, you will never be free to enjoy this very special and lovely things about Holland.
Still very emotional reading that though. We can cope. We will cope. We have to cope because we have 3 amazing people who need us to cope. Some days it's harder than others, and behind closed doors, emotions can be expressed. Ted is an inspirational, charismatic and sociable little man. 1 o'clock he got in last night. Mummy was asleep on the floor and Ted was still partying. He was born 7 years ago. My pregnancy was normal and I had a quick labour. However, when Ted arrived, I just knew something wasn't right. He was very snuffly and we took him down to Skaboo, but they couldn't find anything. He had tremors from day one and he never reached out for toys or anything like that. He slept for hours each day and was violently sick. With clenched hands, Ted screamed all day and all night. Our minds were full of questions. Ted's legs didn't straighten for weeks upon weeks, and we just continued to ask ourselves what was happening. At 14 weeks old, he weighed 14 pounds. He remained that weight for the next 2 years. His reflux worsened, even on a pureed diet. He didn't eat any bite and dissolved foods until he was about 3, and then he found his love of chocolate. He was very difficult to feed, as his mouth was often fixed open when he was younger. He didn't have control of his head until he was over 2, which coincided with our first visit to Great Ormond Street. After 2 MRI scans, blood tests, a CT scan and a lumbar puncture, Ted was diagnosed with AADC on the 25th of June 2010. Ted was 18 months old. For the following 6 months, an Oxford consultant tried to fix Ted. He didn't understand AADC. They moved from medication to medication. Ted's care consumed us, and we knew jumping from one med to another wasn't effective. So after refusing to leave the GP's room, I got the referral to Great Ormond Street. Once Ted received the correct medication, he quickly became more stable. He still had octodriva crises at least twice a week, but the crying gradually stopped and his floppiness began to get better. His happy personality started to shine through. Unfortunately, the medication didn't give us that miracle, but it did give us Ted's strength and the ability to enjoy life. Our pain is here, but our journey continues because it has to. And at this point, I'd like to thank Manju. We could do it without you. As well as this time we met Lisa and our brand new family. The AADC Facebook page helps us. It's helped us on our journey. And the biggest thing I've really noticed this year is how much we've moved on. Come on, sweetheart. Because on the Facebook page, sadly this year we've had lots of new children join us, and it's made me realise we're not the newbies anymore. We're there to offer support, and the first few years are so raw, but actually look at him now. He's in that time where he can party till 1 o'clock and do donuts in the car park, which he was doing the other day. So I just want to say thank you to everybody who has supported us, to Lisa, finding us on eBay, I think it was. Very strange, but she's found us. And to everybody who is a newbie, it does get better. So we're going to watch some pictures now of Ted growing up. You'll be able to pick out where his fists were very clenched, how his mouth was open, but also see all the amazing experiences we tried to give him. He chose the music as well, so I apologise. That's you, yeah. Yay, Mummy. No, there's a couple more. Quiet. It has gone quiet.
What has?
That is Ted.
It's head. Mummy, Mummy.
Yeah. There's a Mummy. That's almost done.
What's that?
It's baby you.
What's Daddy? What's Daddy?
You and Teddy.
Mummy, the scene.
It's all right, we're not going to make you sit through it again. I just wanted to end with a few of those pictures at the end, because we're moving on to the sibling support part now. And you could see just the bond that the children have between them is huge. They absolutely all adore each other.
Yeah. Miles and Amelia are mature for their years and have a thoughtful and caring nature that's unconditional for their brother they adore. Hearing a 1-year-old use language that includes poorly, meds, vent, and it's okay, Ted, is heartbreaking. Hearing your 11-year-old talk of gene therapy, medication, hospices, hospitals is heartbreaking. Seeing the pain in their eyes when Ted has an ocular gyrate crisis and life is on hold is heartbreaking. Want to talk about siblings as they are our heroes. They are wise beyond their years and have unconditional love and a bond that can't be broken. If Mars is asked to tidy his room, you'll get the typical teenager response, roll of the eyes, drooping of the head, and the faint mutterings of the current lingo or dialect only like teenagers can understand. But when asked to fetch or do something for his brother, it's an unequivocal yes, okay. Mars was born to be a big brother, independent, fun, loving, and very social, and makes us proud. So at the age of 4, he was so excited to learn that he will have a brother, someone he could play with, argue with, and get into general mischief with. Over time, he realised this was not the case, and the sibling that held such promise would turn his world upside down. He would always mourn the loss of the brother he will never have. But with the birth of a sister, he felt he fitted. How do you explain AADC to a child? How do you explain that your dreams will never be the same again and daily life would change? We started with the term poorly muscles and gradually told Miles through discussions, and by attending the last AADC conference, Miles began to understand what AADC is. Miles is a young carer where he gets to be a kid again and also has counselling through a local hospice. This gives him someone independent to discuss the words a child should never worry about and help to discuss his feelings. Mourning a sibling who is still has a positive effect, impacts on his life, is questionably the hardest emotion siblings have to encounter. Okay, so now Mars is going to read a brief poem and some words he'd like to say.
My little brother Ted is a funny and loves phones, yet some days he can't smile because of a crisis. Boys can be boys and love the park. Reality is a football match in the park. Isn't the same, but we try. Originally, 7 years ago, I dreamed of so much. Today I know things will never be that way. Hate AADC for making Ted ill. Every day I worry about Ted's health, even in my nightmares. Rather than worry, I now talk to a support worker. Ted is Ted and he's my brother. Energetic or exhausted, he doesn't have an in-between. Daily life might not be easy, but our family, we will all create memories together. To my little sister Emmy, I will always protect you and be here so the nightmares never come to you.
Thank you, darling. Our children are our inspiration, is how I started and how I'm going to finish. That's why we cope. We must continue along our journey. That isn't easy, but we will do it to create childhood memories for all of our children, full of laughter and unconditional love. Thank you. Any questions?